Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I love these golfer and caddy stories, and this one is one of my very favorites this morning. Here's a golfer talking to his caddy, and he says, "Do you think it's a sin to play on Sunday?" And the caddy says, "The way you play, sir, it's a sin on any day." Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning. On a Wednesday, looking good. Blue sky, sunshine. I love that lady, Kate Smith, and God bless America. And good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them, 734-6969. And, of course, Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Right now, let's say good morning to our Pledge of Allegiance person. Good morning. I can't hear you, sir. Is your mic on?
I think so.
I'm not hearing you at all.
It is me.
There you're on now. It was off for a moment. You're coming through. All right, give us a pledge, please, Wheels.
All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was afraid that maybe you had left the studio and were doing a remote broadcast out in the desert someplace. I could barely hear you.
No, it was just, it was switched over to B and,
And you wanted to be on A, but it was moving over to C, but Z sounded pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, God bless. Hey, it's time for the weather forecast with the world's greatest weatherman, and that's MichaelRogersWeather.com. And he's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. They're closed on no day to help you. I mean, every day they're open. I shouldn't say closed on no days. They're open almost every day to serve you with the best of newly refurbished furniture, carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. And don't forget, they're going to have an anniversary sale coming up on Saturday, June 5 and 6. And I tell you, this is going to be dynamic. Carpet as low as $5.79 per square yard, and carpet remnants up to 50% off retail. Oh, my goodness. You better check it out at Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. And right now, here's Michael Rogers Weather.
There is a saying known as, be careful what you ask for, you may get it. You want it water, you need water, you got a lot of it. Morning, everybody. It's pretty simple. Rain continues. It will continue till Thursday night. You come out of it on Friday, you have a nice day Saturday, you have a nice day Sunday, and you pick right back up where you left off on Monday. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Daytime highs are respectable. They're normal. Upper 60s for the daytime highs. Mid to upper 40s for the overnight low. By the way, because I do live in Las Vegas, I like to share information because some folks from the Magic Valley do manage to zip on down Highway 93 down to Las Vegas. In mid-June, Brooks and Dunn, Reba McEntire. at Caesar's Palace. Good country show. And if you come down, please get up with me so I can take a picture of you. Other than that, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. On behalf of Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, holy cow, don't forget to mark it on your calendar. They're going to have a great big anniversary sale on June 5 and 6 at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Caller, I'll be right there. Just a second. I got to get these in really fast. Don't forget SafeLink Internet, 677-8000, the number to call for Idaho's number one choice for wireless internet. You better believe it. They've been in our house, in this office, for a lot of years, and we appreciate their service. We appreciate what they do. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data at SafeLink Internet. You're going to love them. Give them a call, 677-8000. They will serve you. Along with service, you got to mention our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy and the whole outfit cleaning your clothes. And I mean, take those rumply crumplies in there, and they will come back looking brand spanking new. I'm serious. They do a wonderful job. The best of anywhere. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And the number to call, 878-8900. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Hello, Al.
I just reading this paper, and I got a little story here for you. Said a little 5-year-old niece, Gail, was walking with her grandfather in the cow factory when she said, "Grandpa, I smell manure." He told her he didn't smell anything. She looked up at him and replied, "Well, get your nose down here where mine is."
Oh, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yep. Have a good one.
Al, just a minute. They say that almost every day when they walk through the halls of the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Amen.
There you go.
Okay, we'll say goodbye.
God bless you. Have a good day. Oh, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, I talked to old Dave Zanino last night, and the summer series team roping is on for tonight's start at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7, 3 for $25 draw pot, enter up to 6 times, and I'll tell you what, Dave's put a lot of effort into these ropings, so everybody try to be at the Jerome County Fairgrounds tonight. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hello, Ramsey's. How are you at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley? Open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. And you can buy in quantities of things that you need for your heating and your electric needs, and they can pass that pricing savings on to the customers. And don't forget, we're going to be turning on the air conditioners in the next few days when it really warms up, and you'd better be ready to go with a nice brand new clean air filter for your air conditioning units. And you can buy them by the case of 12 at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Oh, and coming up, I've got to get this in. Don't forget the Antique Tractor Show that is going to be put on by Valleywide Home and Ranch, and that is going to be at the Rupert location, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, on June 19th and 20th. But you have until this Saturday the 30th to get signed up and register. That's the entry deadline, so everybody call on your antique tractors, and don't forget there's going to be prizes and trophies and all kinds of goodies. And while you're in there, if you're a fisherman, they've got a great fishing department with all the lures, all the rods, all the reels, everything. And if you're a gardener, they got all the gardening seed too. I know a lot of people haven't even planted their gardens yet. Well, stop into Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. They are ready to serve you at Valleywide. This is so sad. This is so sad to have to report on this. Ringling Brothers Circus has caved into the pressure from animal rights activists, and we, all of us, are going to lose. What am I talking about? The note was passed to me yesterday, and then I had a phone call from some of the people back east at the various media tanks. And the Ringling Brothers Circus will be phasing out the use of trained elephants within 3 years. They're going to be gone. There's not going to be any elephants left at the circus. They're gone. And they're going to be retired to a wildlife sanctuary in Florida. But now here's what's interesting and very devious. Now the animal rights groups are putting a concentrated effort together to go after the use or even seeing wild lions, tigers, chimpanzees, everything. That's going to be the end of the circuses. It's going to be the end of the calliope announcing the circuses in town. It's going to be the end of everybody watching the three rings. It's going to be nothing more than just human tricks instead of anything with animals. But here's what you need to be very, very aware of. And I know of what I speak because these animal rights groups are as devious as Satan himself. They are going to go after the 4-H. They're going to go after the FFA. They're going to go after rodeos, horse shows, dog shows, pet ownership in general. They are coming after all of us with a lot of big dollars and a very insidious plan for no animal usage whatsoever. Mark my words. Mark my words, it's going to get a lot worse. And honestly, I really feel bad for Ringling Brothers Circus caving into the pressure from these animal rights groups. Once you cave in, once you give an inch, you lost. And that's what's happened with Ringling Brothers Circus. It's really sad this morning because now they're going to go after everything else. The lions, the tigers, everything else. And I don't think there's any way to stop them. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Wow. I love the food over there. I had, I'm trying to think, I had a prime rib omelet the other day. Woo, was that good. At Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever you prefer. You stop in, the service is always so nice and friendly and fast, and you're going to love everything on the menu. Please stop into Denny's Restaurant. You'll see what I mean. And they have another new one, too, at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. You better believe it. What a great place when you're hungry. They'll take care of that at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Calls are welcome. Come on, don't leave me hanging. I know a lot of people were out yesterday trying to get things organized. We're getting ready for summer, they said. Well, by golly, give us a call. Don't forget to Barry Equipment and Rental with Eli, Nick, and the whole crew, and a new guy over at Burley, Will Janes. And Magic Valley young man, CSI graduate, and he knows all about heavy equipment. Boy, he knows all about the Doosan, Bobcat, and Coyote lines. And I'll guarantee you, if you have questions about needing the equipment to do a job for you, you check out all the equipment at Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got the Bobcat track loaders, 0% financing up to 60 months. Rent or have a demo at Burley or the Twin Falls stores. See everything they have for you at Barry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls, Jerome, and Burley. Oh boy, you know, here's a story that is really upsetting to me, and it should be to all of us. It's going to take billions, now that's with a B, billions of dollars to rebuild, refurbish, reconstruct the burning and the destruction as to what took place in Baltimore. And these thugs, punks, I'm going to call them thugs. I'm not going to use politically correct language. We're going to call them what they were. Thugs and punks and protesters were very malicious, sick, malicious people. And here's the bottom line. Guess who's going to pay for all of this rebuilding and refurbishing? Don't say the government, because the government is us. Through FEMA, we, the taxpayers, are going to rebuild and fund the money, billions with a B, dollars, to rebuild what these worthless punks and thugs burned and destroyed. Now, I don't know about you, but where is the justice? Many people in Ferguson, many people in Baltimore, many people in Cleveland that were out rioting and causing problems, their faces are on film. They know who these people are. Why aren't there more arrests? Why aren't there more fines? Why aren't there more people in jail? But we, the people of the United States of America, the taxpayers, the big bailout system for any problem, we're on the hook for all of this looting, burning, and destroying. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, there was a lady, and if that lady's listening this morning, that called me on my cell phone while I was on the air the other day to give me some more information about the Minnecasia Relay for Life. Call back. I have no idea, but my phone did not record your number, and I need somebody from the Minnecasia Relay for Life to give me a call, which is coming up on Friday, June 19th and 20th, starting at 6 p.m. on the 19th with the opening ceremonies and going till the next day. I'll be right there, caller, on the 20th at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. Don't forget, let's help all of us support the Relay for Life to help garner funds to fight the dreaded disease of cancer with the Minnecasia Relay for Life. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb.
Yes, sir.
You know, Ferguson, Cleveland, Baltimore, these are right on target for our illustrious presidents.
Now, speak up a little bit, Keith, because...
Institute martial law.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing that he's got a problem with is the rural areas of America. That's going to be a little bit more of a problem for him, don't you think?
Well, okay. Now, I'm not going to speculate. I don't like to speculate. I only go off bona fide fact. But I will say this, Keith, that I honestly think a lot of these insurrections, like you have talked about with Ferguson, that was a mess, and there was a lot of property destroyed. Baltimore, a lot of property destroyed. Cleveland, more insurrection, more unrest. More cities are on the docket for these absolute vermin to jump in and create all kinds of human suffering. I honestly am really afraid not only of kind of a martial law situation, I am afraid of rights being taken away from us as gun owners, property owners. I see unbelievable things that can happen still with this presidency having 603 days left in office. I am afraid.
Well, just remember, these 600 and some days that are left are time for Obama to figure out how he can become the king, because there would be no election.
Let me just say this, though. It's not just Obama. Not in any way, shape, or form. It's what might be coming into the Oval Office after him. And my big fear is Hillary Clinton. This woman is devious. This woman is a liar. This woman is a sham and a fraud. This woman absolutely should never go to the White House unless ever again it's on a paid tour excursion. I have no use for Hillary Clinton. I've read so much in the last couple of weeks about her background, about what she might do with gun control, what she might do with the economy, what she might do with the Muslim situation and ISIS. I fear her because of what she might even be worse than Obama.
You know what is really fearful? All of these faithful Democrats are going to follow her no matter what she does.
I'm not so sure. Keith, because I talked to last weekend a gentleman that I like. He's a good friend of mine. And he's been a Democrat all of his life because of his family and everything else. And he told me in no uncertain terms he cannot support Hillary Clinton, and he will not.
You know, this little thought that you had when you first entered into the program today, the smell You don't have to get that close to be able to smell what's going on.
Amen. And Keith, I always appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, we've really got a smell in Washington, D.C. And I've got other stories to prove it here this morning, too. Here, listen to this one. I've got to get this one on really quick, and then we've got to do the Capitol Press Ag Minute. But do you remember the blonde NRB, not real bright, Marie Harf? Do you remember her? White House spokesman with the black horn-rimmed glasses and everything. And she was a spokesman for the White House. A lot of people thought she was going to get fired. She made a lot of mistakes. She made a lot of miscues. She made a lot of inept remarks. So I was one of the people that thought she was going to get fired and go by the wayside. You know what happened to her? She got promoted. She got promoted. And you're not going to believe what job she has now. This ought to run a chill right up your backside. Listen to this. She is now the senior advisor. Let me say those words again. Marie Harf is now the senior advisor to the Secretary of State, John Kerry. Oh, that's the blind leading the blind. And guess what her job is? Her main function is to help strategize the Iranian nuclear deal. I know. A lot of you just lost your breakfast. I can't believe it. This administration is just like a bunch of kindergartners. Here's a woman that couldn't say come here from Sikkim. And she gave all kinds of absolutely brain-dead answers up at the podium representing the White House. A lot of people thought she was out of there. And she gets a promotion to be the senior advisor to the Secretary of State, John Kerry, to help strategize the Iranian nuclear deal. Pull the covers over your head, Martha. Holy cow. Oh, and it gets worse. I've got more. Right now, let's go with Mount Harrison Audiology with the Capitol Press Ag Minute. Wonderful lady Christine Pickup, doctor of audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call for a hearing screening is 3120957. Christine, I'm going to call you today. My wife has one of my Hilrick Bradsby baseball bats as a reminder hanging over my head. Don't forget, uncorrected hearing loss can help also aid and abet a poorer quality of life. So have your hearing checked. And May is Better Speech and Hearing Month. You call them at 3120957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they can help you with your hearing. Here now, the Capitol Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capitol Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The Obama administration is expected to announce a new clean water rule in the next few days, which has some Northwest farm groups worried what new regulations could mean for the operation. The rule has also drawn criticism from property rights groups and praise from environmentalists. The Environmental Protection Agency says the new rule will help limit population in streams and wetlands. Two U.S. Supreme Court decisions in 2001 and in 2006 created uncertainty about who can regulate these smaller bodies of water. A bill recently passed by the U.S. House would block the new clean water rule. Environmental groups say this new rule will provide critical protection for clean drinking water and fish habitat. For Capitol Press Ag Minute, I am Raul Peña.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capitol Press, and CapitolPress.com.
Oh, that a boy, Raul, much better. Hey, appreciate it, Mount Harrison Audiology, and check your hearing today. You may have a hearing problem that can be corrected. 3120957. Christine Pickup at Mount Harrison Audiology, 3120957. Hey, don't forget, yesterday was Tuesday, and of course, that meant that we had Dr. History on our program. And he's sponsored by Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Old Zack Attack and the rest of the great crew can help you with all your spring remodeling projects. I mean, they got all the lumber, they got all the shingles, they got all the windows, they got everything for you to help make your home a nicer home. And all the carpet. I mean, holy cow, give them a call, stop in. 878-2091. Mini-Cash Sales in Burley. Really nice people. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Marie Harf. I mean, really. Marie Harf. Think about her snide, kind of twisted, kind of, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, that's tough. Attitude behind the podium. And now, and like I said, many people in the news, not just me, thought she was going to get fired. And she gets promoted to the senior advisor to John Kerry, Secretary of State. Oh, baby, there is trouble in River City, I'll tell you that. Here's something else for you to worry about. If you're getting on an airplane today and you're going hither and yon, you better hope and pray that you get to hither and yon. Because they have found out, they being the government, they being some investigators of the airlines, that hundreds, not just a couple, hundreds of TSA security badges have been stolen or lost. How do you lose security badges? Why aren't they locked up? Why aren't they in numerical order? John has this one, Patsy has this one, Bert has this one, etc. But hundreds and hundreds of these TSA security badges have either been stolen or lost all across the United States, and that are affiliated with many of the major airports. Now, these guys and gals of the TSA, they basically, with that security badge, they can go anywhere they want and do anything they want to do, go into any area they want. Oh boy, think about that. Hundreds of these TSA security badges stolen or lost. And it's not as if we don't have a lot of bad guys out there. There's plenty to go around. And now with all the vermin coming in from foreign countries that want to represent various terrorist organizations and do us harm, this isn't good. This isn't good. Hundreds of TSA security badges. Well, I don't know where they are. Oh, my. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, really, a lady said to me the other day, she said, hey, why don't you just have some good news? Well, I'd love to, my dear, but I'll tell you what. We can't just run and hide from what's going on. We, the people of the United States, should be absolutely outraged as to the ineptness of this government. And we should be demanding that they clean up their act. However, I don't think there's a broom and a dustpan big enough. Not for this one. Don't forget Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods, with our dear friend Tim Vaughn and the whole crew, serving you with all your building needs, like grain bins on the farm grain storage. And, of course, they can do anything with your building of your dairies, whatever. Authorized dealer in Sioux Cup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. Oh, yeah, all you have to do is call them at 431-7314, and they will get an estimate for you. Streamline Precision is a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services. And as I said, they can build anything. They're building the brand new Funk Dairy south of me in Murtaugh. They are good. Call Tim today, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, the professionals building for you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb. Got a little cold, but I wanted to make a comment. I just we have the inmates running the asylum back there for sure, and the prime function of government is to protect life and property, and we supposedly have Homeland Security, but I think we're more insecure because of Homeland Security than we were before, especially when we're letting all these refugees in here, and the FBI even admits now they don't have the manpower to really check all these out. I'm sure ISIS really loves to hear that. So, we're living in a real dangerous world now for sure.
Let me interrupt you.
In many different ways.
Let me interrupt you for a second and say something. I am going to do, next week we're going to hopefully get it started, a complete comprehensive study of the College of Southern Idaho Refugee Program, why they're involved in it, what the dangers are, and I'm going to say this. I'm not going to mention names, but I am going to say that I have talked to many people some connected to the college, others that are citizens, that are very, very concerned about why the college got involved in this, what the ramifications might be, and the dangers. And this is the tip of the iceberg. I don't have to tell you because you're aware of what's going on. But I'm telling everybody right now that this deal with the College of Southern Idaho is not just Zeb Bell against the refugee program, but many, many people are extremely worried and concerned as to what it might do for the entire area.
Well, absolutely. And there's 190 cities like Twin Falls that are being impacted. So, and obviously they're being very successful in recruiting online. And so once they get over here and have the internet access that they didn't have before, so, even if it's 1 or 2% become radicalized by ISIS and all that goes with it, it's a really sad situation. But I think if you read, there was a movie, and it was encapsulated briefly in the paper. It said, the college makes money on this refugee program, so follow the money. We'll do anything as long as we can make some money on it. So, but the money is coming out of my taxes to funnel this program in here. Plus, look at all the jobs that are being taken.
Yeah.
And they get the companies that take these refugees once they learn English, and they get a subsidy too. So there's something wrong with the whole system, but I don't know. It seems like at the federal level, Crapo and these guys are not, and Risch and Simpson are, just back there, just not doing anything about it. And so it puts us all in danger.
I will, and you can bet on this. When Mike Crapo's on the next time, I'm thinking it's going to be next Wednesday, I will, without a shadow of a doubt, use this as one of the lead questions that I have for him. Adrian, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're certainly welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. I want to know why. I want to know why Twin Falls and Boise. I want to know why the feds came in and made demands that we will take these Syrian Muslim refugees. I want everybody to know that there were people at various meetings that really amplified the thought that no, not here. But the federal government, with that carrot on the end of a stick, which represents money, CSI grabbed the carrot. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Thanks to Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 and Lennox, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You're not going to believe this. I don't believe in political correctness. Never have, never will. Don't want to be a part of it. I will do everything I can to thwart it. But now it's really taking on another kind of a color or shade of being really a mess. In Madison, Wisconsin, The school boards in Madison, Wisconsin have turned themselves into the political correctness police, and they are telling students, now I'm not making this up, they are telling students that if they wear to school a jersey or a sweatshirt or a cap of their favorite team, which may be the Washington Redskins, may be the Chicago Blackhawks, may be the Cleveland Indians or the Atlanta Braves, that they will be sent home to change their clothes. Now, other students that wear other sweatshirts, caps, or t-shirts representing other teams and logos, those are okay. But these idiots with the Madison, Wisconsin School Board and now the new PC police, they've stepped out of bounds on this one. Because the government and or whether it's local, whether it's state, whether it's federal, they do not have the power to tell us what to wear, when to wear it, etc. No way. These are legal sports teams' logos. These are legal licensed apparel logos and names. And for the school to say, well, okay, if you've got one on for the Green Bay Packers or the St. Louis Cardinals or whatever, the Chicago Bears, Miami Dolphins, that's okay. But if you come to school with a Washington Redskins jersey or sweatshirt or Chicago Blackhawks hockey sweatshirt, you're out of here, Junior. How dare they? How dare they? You know, can you imagine, and I'm not making this up, folks, can you imagine a government that would say, because some clothing might offend someone else, the dictate of the day is a white t-shirt and a pair of slacks, and you will wear nothing to change that, so you do not make anybody mad or upset. What kind of garbage is this? You know, even the Indians, and I'm going to call them Indians because that's what they are. They're Indians. I'm not going to say American natives and all this kind of stuff. I'm as native as they are. But even the Indians are upset. They had a lady on television from the Winnebago tribe, which is very, very prevalent back in where I was born and raised, southern Wisconsin. She's upset about it. She said this is lunacy. They can't dictate to people what to buy, what not to buy, what not to wear. And my attitude is, and I want to hear from you on this, buy it and wear it anyway. Test the water. Push the envelope. Don't be dictated to. How dare they? How dare they? Oh, come on, folks. Speak out. That's what this program's all about. Well, I'm waiting for your calls. I got to calm down. I'm glad I took that blood pressure medicine about 2 hours ago. It's kicking in. It's kicking in. Don't forget Mad River Laser. Yes, sirree. Father's Day's right around the corner. Treat Daddy to something special. Have it custom made with his name on it or whatever. A buck knife with a nice little slogan on it and his name. Coffee mugs. All the barbecue kits for Dad. Aprons. Have Dad wear an apron. World's #1 cook. And then the family can say, no way. Anyway, stop over all the June wedding. You can get all kinds of things personalized at Mad River Laser. They are wonderful, wonderful people, and they're located at 502 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. The number to call, 436-2293. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. The rain continues and will continue until Thursday night. I could really get into the intricacies of what's causing it. Is it normal? Is it not normal? All that stuff. But you're in the situation now where as you get close to summer, you've had about enough of it. And even though I did tell you exactly what's causing it, it's not going to stop. So the bottom line is you get weather in plain English. You got rain for today, tonight. You got rain that's going to continue all the way to Thursday night. You'll have a nice weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then you're going to pick right back up where you left off on Sunday. Daytime highs for today, upper 60s, low 70s, overnight low to mid, make that mid to upper 40s. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. You sure need the water, the only weather you got.
Well, we had Michael with a little background music, and not that I really cared for that, but anyway, Michael Rogers Weather, brought to you by Mad River Laser, and of course they're located at 502 East Street in Rupert, 436-2293. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Would you really listen honestly? Let's say that you're a Chicago Blackhawk hockey fan, and you wore, these are big-time sale jerseys. I mean, boy, a lot of people like them because it's a very, very colorful jersey. I've seen many of them. I like them. And by the way, as I said on this program many times, my high school logo was the Fort Atkinson Blackhawks. Still is. Still is. And our logo, the sweatshirts, the caps and everything, not nearly as fancy as the Chicago Blackhawks hockey team, but it's still the same name. But if you go to work, and let's say that you're really proud of what the Chicago Blackhawks have done, and you're proud of that hockey team, you go to work and the boss comes up to you and says, you got to take that sweatshirt off because it might offend somebody. What? I mean, this is a free society, in case somebody forgot. And we're not going to be regulated. Taking and listening to these absolute imbecilic politicians tell us that they're going to regulate what we eat. They're going to regulate what we wear. They're going to regulate what we do. They're going to tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that. My goodness, it's time for people to stand up on their hind legs and spit in their eye and say enough is enough. Enough is enough. If I were on the board of directors for the Cleveland Indians, Braves, Redskins, whatever, I would be formulating with the attorneys a lawsuit back against the government and these stupid PC people. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You know, one thing to tear down these sports teams and everything is one thing, but now what about the manufacturers? You brought up a good point. Winnebago, one of the oldest manufacturers of RV that I know of, and they have the Chieftain and several other Indian names.
Yep.
On their coaches.
Yep.
They're going to try to shut down this factory?
Yeah.
Where are we headed with this?
Yeah, you know, Keith, that is an excellent point. Winnebago with their motorhomes, etc. And I can think of, if I write down long enough, I can think of a number of names that are affiliated somehow with Indian tribes here in the United States. Remember when Chevy, you've been in the car business all your life, remember when Chevy had a pickup called the Apache?
Oh, yes, and the Indians did not buy them.
Well, the thing is, I don't care if somebody's offended. Why? We're not doing it to offend somebody. We're doing it to honor them. You know, when we accepted the name Fort Atkinson Blackhawks in my high school, it was meant to honor the Indian tribe because of the historical value to the area. And I am so pathetically mad at this idiocy of PC correctness. It's got to stop, Keith.
I'm trying to think of the name of the manufacturer that builds the trailers and everything in Twin Falls. It's an Amish. I think it's owned by the Amish, but I think they have Indian names on their coaches also.
Well, I tell you what, the minute you start caving, the minute you start saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'll change, like what happened to Ringling Brothers with the saying, oh, I'm sorry, we'll stop using elephants, then your business is done. Because if you give these people 1 inch, these weirdos 1 inch, they're going to take a foot, then they're going to take a yard, then they're going to take a mile, and you're out of business, and everything is underneath political correctness. It ain't a-going to work, Keith.
Well, each one of these people ought to be required to pack around a wolf under each arm everywhere they go.
All right. Hey, man, I got another call. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate your input about Winnebago, too. Thank you so much. I thank you. Caller, don't go away. I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody, if you've got an aches and a pain and you're coming off surgery or a broken leg, broken arm, the place to go is Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue in Suite 2 in Burley. You call the number 678-1191, and all of those wonderful physical therapists there, headed up by Nick Greenwell, they can help you with an exercise program to get you back to being you, absolutely. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. You give them a call today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hi.
You wanted to hear from me. I wanted to wait until I calmed down because sometimes it helps to laugh instead of cry. And I'm talking about Carrie and that wonderful, sweet person that's helping him.
Oh, boy.
You know, maybe she can screw it up really good because she's an idiot and he's a bigger idiot.
Now, Helen, just a minute. Hang on just a second. In all honesty and sincerity, and without me making any snide remarks or you, think of the severity of what this really means. This woman, Marie Harf, honest to goodness, has no business being a senior advisor on nuclear strategy with Iran. And instead of getting fired for her inept and stupid remarks as a White House spokesman, they elevated and promoted her. I mean, I don't know about you, Helen, but time to close the door in the basement and wait for the world to go on by.
I think that's what's so funny about it, really and truly. You've got to laugh instead of cry. I mean, what can we do about it? We got two idiots together that don't know beans about buttermilk, and they're together and they're putting their... Oh, heaven forbid.
But you know something, though, Helen? You got to say this stuff. You got to tell people, because the national media is so in bed, and I'll use that phraseology, with Obama and the rest of these nincompoops that are trying to run the government. I very seldom agree with Bill O'Reilly, but I'll tell you something. The other night, Bill O'Reilly was spot on when he came out and said that we're in trouble. These are dark days for the United States and the world because of the ineptness and the total, absolute asinine attitude that Obama's trying to lead this country with.
You mean to say Bill O'Reilly ever said anything intelligent?
He did on this. I gotta hand it to him.
All amazed.
All right, Helen. God bless you. Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right. Thank you much. You know, a lot of people out there are probably saying, "Oh, what's the big deal, Zeb? So what if it's a sweatshirt? So what if it's a baseball cap? Come on." Wait a minute. In a free society like ours was, I should be able to buy and wear any piece of clothing representing any sports team that I want to, and wear it when I want to, as long as it meets the rules and regulations at my job. If they require a suit and tie, naturally you're not going to go in wearing a Chicago Blackhawks sweatshirt or T-shirt. No! But if other team sports, sweatshirts, caps, etc. can be worn, why not that? Why are we being discriminatory? Oh, well, we got to be the PC police. We can't allow that to happen. Baloney. Whew, caught myself. Anyway, this is really serious. And since when does the government tell us what to wear, for heaven's sakes? I don't like black socks. You got to take those off. Sorry, with a suit. I want everybody wearing white socks. I don't like that sweater. Nobody wear V-neck anymore. You got to wear crew neck sweaters. This sounds ridiculous, but that's what it's coming to. Because some nincompoop is going to be offended no matter what. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-926. You know what? I'm going to go buy some of those jerseys just because. They're not my teams, but they're going to be. Oh, get ready for summer travel with the free pre-trip safety check. Did it again. I like that. And you can stop into any one of the 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they can help you. You betcha, to make sure that tire inspection, tire pressure check, visual inspections of the front end components, and visual inspection of brakes, and check out the shocks and the struts. I mean, the list goes on and on. Well, they are good, and they're very concerned for your safety at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today, and talk about brake service. Holy cow, those fellers know brakes, let me tell you. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, and don't forget to check on your tires too at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. Wow, I just can't believe we in the United States of America are being dictated to. I don't like that sweatshirt. You got to take it off. Good morning, caller. Quickly, I got a minute left.
Yeah, just getting into your livelihood, what about the rodeos like the Cowboy Stampede and Pendleton Roundup, and some of these others are somewhat Indian affiliated? Are they going to go for them too?
You know, I just absolutely think the door is wide open right now for PC correctness that is run amok, and people are paying attention to it instead of wadding up the paper and throwing it in the trash. Keith, it's a subject that could go on and on and on. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is going to be on the altar that's not going to be touched. I'm very worried right now. I got to run to the news, my friend. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Boy, next hour, we're going to be talking to Dave Bigo. I'll mention some of this stuff to him about PC correctness and everything. I know he feels the same way I do. All right, calm down. News next from CBS, and we'll be back in 6. See you then. Oh, my. I just had some interesting news that was very unsettling. I understand that my dear friend Dave Bigo is not going to be on the program this morning. So, here we are, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, and they've got everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch, along with our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, thank you very much, Wheels. If you can send that feed down to me a little bit more in the headsets, I'd appreciate it. Turn that up a little bit. I appreciate it, buddy. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them. Get on the route service today at 734-6969. Locally owned and operated. They can take care of getting rid of your garbage. Give them a call today, 734-6969. Yep, it's true. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. While we have, and boy, we're going to welcome phone calls, because I just got notice that Dave Bigo is not going to be on the program this morning. So we have an open half hour, and your calls and messages and thoughts and everything else will be appreciated. Give us a jingle. And while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I can feel it. Let's not forget our friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And I'll give you the number right now, please. Remember this. Write it down, 436-5636. Now, all of us should try to get the information necessary on the pre-planning of funerals to help our families. You know, it alleviates so much of the stress and the worry, and they are ready to serve you at Hanson Mortuary, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please give them a call today. Joel Heward, his staff, family, everyone there at Hanson Mortuary, 436-5636, serving you. Like I said, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, too, every morning, when we start our program, we started off with the weather with Michael Rogers Weather, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, and they're going to have a great big anniversary sale on June 5 and 6. Don't forget that. I'll tell you more as the days go along. And Cheney Flooring and Home Design bringing you Michael Rogers Weather. Okay. Last hour, we were talking about, before the news, about the politically correctness police that are going on around the nation. And we've already heard, and I know a lot of you probably aren't concerned about it, but it is something we all need to be concerned about because it affects so many. There are so many people that want to make sure, well, that offends me. Your school is showing a bobcat on the sweatshirt. Maybe you're a burly bobcat, and we don't like the depiction of bobcats, who we might consider being an endangered species. We don't want anybody to think about that as a sporting team. We want it taken off the sweatshirt. Now, I'm just giving this as a fictitious example. But then also we've got the Buell Indians, and a very, very reputable school. I've had a chance to speak over there on numerous occasions, and the people and the students and the staff, so nice over there, always doing the right thing as far as the commemoration of the American Indian, especially Indians here in this area. Buell Indian, they're going to come after them. You know they are. We're going to see many others, too, like the Boise Braves, and we're going to see Valley Vikings. Now, there's an interesting one right there, Valley Vikings. You know, a lot of people will say, well, those Vikings, when they came over to this area, they were nothing but rapists and pillagers and plunderers. Why, how dare they call their school the Vikings? That's despicable. It can happen to anybody in this politically correct world. And what's going on, in case you didn't hear it last hour, is that the Madison, Wisconsin School District has said that the students can no longer wear any of the Chicago Blackhawks, a great hockey team, and they're playing fantastic this year, Chicago Blackhawks jerseys or sweatshirts or caps, nor can they wear Washington Redskins or Atlanta Braves or Cleveland Indians, but any other team, like the Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, etc. Oh, that's okay. So they're singling out the kids that are fans of that respective sports team. And what they're doing is saying that even though it's a legal sports team, and even though the actual jersey, the wearing of a jersey or a sweatshirt is permissible, you just can't wear that one because it might offend somebody. What? You know, as I said last hour, this is more than just those jerseys. This is more than those sports teams. This is more than that logo. This is the government, like I said last hour, whether it's state, local, or national, interfering in our lives and basically in a free society telling us what we can wear and what we can't. Give me your thoughts. Call me, 436-2244. Look at all the high schools. Look at all the colleges and universities. We've talked about this in the past. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but this is really unbelievable to me because people are listening and adhering to it, and they're running off in the corner, and they're kind of hiding going, oh, I'm so sorry, I won't wear it again. What? This isn't America. It's a legally licensed product logo. You should be able to wear it anywhere, anytime you want to. Call me, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I also want to remind you about Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. Oh, Tim Vaughn, good old boy, at 431-7314. You give him a call, he'll figure up all the estimates on what you need built, and then they'll get to work. That's it. You bet they're putting up a lot of on-the-farm grain bin storage, and they're the authorized dealer for Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. They can build anything, and they've also got the heavy trucks and rigs to handle all your dirt hauling needs with the big side dump trucks, etc. Everything you need right there at Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. They can build it. Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. You give them a call today. I am really surprised that more people haven't weighed in on this, because it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, well, I don't like that green sweater. I don't like that red sweater. Why, red reminds me of communism. You got to take that red sweater off. I mean, the list and the opportunities for someone somewhere to be offended is absolutely uncountable. I mean, you can go on and on and on. Right now, I am wearing a shirt that is sponsored by Wrangler, and it has the name of my former television show on it, Cowboy Country. It's an old shirt, believe me, it's an old shirt. And somebody might be offended because it says Wrangler. Well, Wrangler, that means you ride horses and that you might wear spurs and you might whip the horse or something like that to get it to go fast. Come on. You can find anything, any topic, if you look hard enough to be offensive to you. Or you can use it as being offended to try to get everybody to fit into your mold. But the government should never, ever, nobody, I don't care if it's a school district or whatever, ever have that kind of power that they can tell somebody not to wear a legally licensed product logo, shirt, or whatever, and tell others, oh, it's okay for you because that logo is innocuous. Yeah, the Blue Jays, yeah, the Cardinals, unless the Audubon Society gets offended, and then they chime in. Holy cow, where's the end of this list? Oh, boy. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget the Relay for Life, Mini-Cassia Relay for Life, coming up on June 19th and 20th at the Cassia County Fairgrounds in Burley. And they're going to be starting at 6 p.m. on Friday, June 19th. Don't forget that, with the opening ceremonies and then, of course, going through the evening with all the walking and trying to garner funds for cancer research to defeat the ugly cancer diseases. Mini-Cassia Relay for Life on June 19th and 20th at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. Let's all support it, okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear about the United States Marine, a woman that was court-martialed for refusing to remove a Bible verse on her computer? Wait a minute, just listen. She had a Bible verse of Scripture on her computer. It was taped on the front of the computer. And what it said was this, from the Old Testament: "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." Now, keep in mind, this is a United States Marine. And she had on her computer, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." Well, the sergeant walks in, and here's another one of those PC people, and said, "Take that off your computer." And this Marine said, "No, sir, I will not." And the sergeant said, "You either remove it or you are going to be up for disobeying orders and get court-martialed." And she did. And she was. And now she's unemployed. And because of the bad conduct discharge from the military for keeping that little phrase on the base of her computer, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, this woman has no future. None. They're after her. They're going to make an example out of her. But how in the world? You know, in the Bible, you know, thou shalt have no other gods before me. God talking to us. And for somebody to be restricted on their faith and somebody to be restricted on their own personal desk or whatever, and really this reference, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, wow, that's pretty heavy to be court-martialed for. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I would like to talk.
Go ahead, sir. You're on the air.
You know, the thing that you're talking about, the topics that you're talking about, you know, pretty quick, I think it will be to the point that, you know, if I wear my hat, I was in the Vietnam War. And there's very, very many people ahead of me that was in the war. But, you know, are they going to not recognize that?
You know, there was...
Talking about Indians and Braves and different things, but, you know, is it becoming a thing that you can't wear a World War I hat or a World War II hat?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
You know, sir, God bless you for your service to this country, and you bring up a really good point. Wheels, I need you to turn these callers up a little bit, please. You bring up a really good point, sir, about during the 60s, there was so much animus against the Vietnam vets returning home. Some of my best friends, when they came home from Vietnam, some were spat upon at airports, and they were ridiculed, etc. When these guys were putting their lives in line on the line for America, and now what is it? If it's offensive to go out and wear maybe a camo jacket or whatever, or maybe something in reference to the war and your service, it's coming to that. The PC police are all over, and I agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen next.
Well, and that's a team. That's a team that, you know, they don't recognize the facts. I mean, we have what we have right now because of the fact that people put themselves on the line.
Yeah.
That's just a crazy thing.
Let me ask you a question. Of all the teams that I mentioned, of their sports logos, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Atlanta Braves... Pardon me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, my. Wheels, I don't know what we need to do over there, but the caller needs to hear me, so fix that up a little bit. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I got you.
All right, buddy.
I got you.
Of all the sports teams, whether it's the Chicago Blackhawks, whether it's the Atlanta Braves or whatever, you tell me, sir, has there been one instance of disrespect against the logo from the teams, the owners, or the fans? Not one that I can think of. Can you tell me of any?
Well, you know, it's a fact that, you know, what do you want to be? World War II veterans, or you want to be World War II veterans, or Vietnam veterans?
Yeah.
You know, is that going to be against the, you know, against the rules and regulations that the people have?
I agree with you, and I thank you so much for your call this morning, and I appreciate that point. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. You know, that man brought up an interesting point right there that needs to be discussed. You know, the PC people, are they going to come out and say, well, you know, when we see somebody from the military wearing their uniform, well, it kind of makes us feel uneasy and everything. Let's go after them and say, oh, don't wear that in public anymore. You've seen and heard already instances like that. I'm not making this up. But, you know, the overall PC correctness crowd say, oh, well, that offends me. You got to stop. You've got to stop. Well, my attitude is, you offend me. And I'm going to continue to wear the Blackhawks, or I'm going to continue to wear the Redskins. I'm going to continue to wear the Atlanta Braves. They used to be the Milwaukee Braves, and I've got right here in my studio at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably about 9 references to the old Milwaukee Braves before they moved to Atlanta. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm proud of them. But I don't care what the circumstance is. Somebody, someplace is going to be offended. Do you worry about that? No, you shouldn't. Everybody's got their own boat to float. And nobody of any of these sports teams or anything else is trying to offend anybody. As a matter of fact, those teams hold those honored logos up with pride. With pride. And I think the people in Madison, Wisconsin should be ashamed of themselves and ashamed at their own stupidity. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The world's going nuts. The world is going nuts. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn, where the fun is sold. Oh, have they got a great service department over there. And if you have a four-wheeler or a watercraft and you need to get it serviced before you go up in the hills or on the lake or on the river, hey, they can help you. They've got great people over there. And I also want to remind you, when I said watercraft, they've got a lot of the new examples of the new watercrafts in over at Let's Ride. And I'll tell you what, all the ATVs. Holy smokes, I mean, row after row of them over there. You give them a call or stop in. 436-4771. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn, where the fun is sold. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I am getting so sick and tired of these crybabies. All they are is crybabies. I don't like this. I need mommy to come take care of me. Get over it, people. This is life. If you don't like it, go to France. They'll put up with you. But get out of here. But this is the way this country is. If you can't handle it, you're too big of a wimp anyway and shouldn't be here.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Kilt Man, the thing is, no matter what your favorite sports team, whatever your favorite hobby, whatever your favorite whatever, if it's on a piece of clothing or you want to honor that team or whatever, somebody is going to be offended someplace in this overly protective, politically correct world. But if we start worrying about one, it's got like a snowball effect, and it's going to keep going and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And where does it stop? It doesn't. And we're all living underneath this PC, and it ought to be thrown out. I personally am going to go buy some of the jerseys for teams that I'm really not a fan of. The Blackhawks, the Cleveland Indians, or the Redskins, and I'm going to wear them. Why? Because I want to stick it in the face of these people who think they're holier than thou.
Well, I agree. And see, I'm one of those ones. I got several outfits around that have the American flag on it, POWs, honoring them and our servicemen, and I will continue to wear them. I don't care what anybody says.
Amen.
And if they want to come and face me face to face, we'll take it out.
That's the whole thing. Somebody already has had this problem come up on television with the American flag. They said, well, you shouldn't be wearing the flag because you're showing partiality. Well, of course we're showing partiality. Of course we're proud to be Americans. Of course I'm proud of the flag. And I dare somebody to come up and say, well, you shouldn't be wearing that American flag. Hey, man, I agree with you, Jeff. It's time to you-know-what and start taking names.
That's exactly right. Taking names and kicking butt is what we need to be doing, because guess what? I will continue to wear it, and unless you got a whole lot of people in your back pocket, you better leave me alone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When somebody says we, I want to see all the mice that are running around in that front pocket with your billfold. I'll talk to you later, buddy. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
All right. Folks, honestly, this is a problem in this country right now. We are being run over by people that say, well, that offends me. Well, I don't like that. Well, I think. It keeps going on and on and on. These little mice in the pocket, okay? Well, it's time to stand up and say enough is enough. Now, I promise you, that I'm going to go to town probably on Friday morning and my day off, and I am going to buy some of these sports memorabilia logos, whether it's a T-shirt, whether it's a cap, whatever. I'm going to wear them. I'm not going to be told I can't. You should too. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And then there's going to be those people. You know who they are. They're going to go out there and they're going to say, well, you just bought that so you could incite trouble. You just bought that so you could stick it in the face of those that don't like it. Yup. Yes, sir. That's right. I did. And if you don't like it, you know what you can do, too. Whew, I feel better. Don't forget our dear friends. I bet they love having their ad come up after this. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, very dedicated and responsive to your needs. Always accessible and devoted to helping you. With all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, you call for an appointment today. They are the best. They really care. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good people. We've got our next guest coming on momentarily, and before we get him on here this morning, I also want to remind you that our dear friends with Ramsey Heating and Electric have teamed up with Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call them at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. At Ramsey's, they sell warm winters and cool summers, and Lennox, you get a hold of them today. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and hopefully this guest is waiting for us this morning. And we say good morning to Jonathan Wood, and he is a staff attorney at the Pacific Legal Foundation. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. This is the first time you've ever been on our program, so I'm going to let you, kind of like the old What's My Line TV show, I'm going to let you enter and sign in and tell us a little bit about you and the Pacific Legal Foundation and what you do. Go ahead.
Sure. My name is Jonathan Wood. I'm a staff attorney at Pacific Legal Foundation. PLF is the nation's oldest and largest nonprofit law firm dedicated to defending the Constitution, economic liberty, and the rights that most people take for granted every day.
Jonathan,
we represent all of our clients for free, so we are really the firm that makes it possible for all the normal average Joes in the country to stand up to big government that's threatening their property rights, their right to earn a living, or subjecting them to unreasonable government regulation.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm excited to have you on the program. Jonathan, the subject matter that we're going to talk about this morning is the Endangered Species Act. I think this thing is completely out of control. I think it needs to be reined in, rewritten, or whatever. Give us your thoughts about the constitutional limits of the Endangered Species Act.
Sure. So, I think most people will agree that the Endangered Species Act came from a good place. The goal was excellent. We shouldn't let species go extinct if we can help it. But unfortunately, the approach taken is what was taken in a lot of statutes that are now 40 and 50 years old. It's a command and control, punitive regulation that punishes people for leaving the property in conditions suitable for species, which I would think would be a good thing. If you want to conserve species, you should encourage people to keep their property suitable for species, not punish them for it. And it's also ultimately not done very well for the species themselves. Less than 1% of species listed have ever recovered because of any conservation or recovery efforts made under the statute. And one of the other problems with the statute is that it's unconstitutional. As I'm sure your listeners know, and everyone learns in their civics class in high school, the Constitution creates a federal government of limited and specifically enumerated powers. The federal government isn't all-powerful. It can't do just whatever it wants. And so one of the limits is that the so-called Commerce Clause that allows the federal government to regulate trade across states can't be interpreted to embrace federal regulation of whatever the federal government wants. But unfortunately, the arguments that the government has made to justify the Endangered Species Act would lead to that conclusion. We are challenging the constitutionality of a regulation adopted in the Endangered Species Act that forbids any person from doing anything that might affect a Utah prairie dog, which is a rodent that is found in southwestern Utah and only southwestern Utah, and has completely taken over the area and the towns in that region. There are about 40,000 of them, 75% are on private properties. If they move onto your lot in the middle of a residential subdivision, you can't build your home. If they move onto your property, you can't build your small business. And they particularly harm the community because they've taken over recreational fields where children are supposed to be able to play, but they've rendered them unsuitable and they've had to be fenced off. They've taken over the airport where they dig amongst the runways and safety zones, and they've taken over the cemetery where they bark during funerals, eat flowers, and just disturb what is supposed to be a serene and sacred place.
Let me ask you this, Jonathan. What about existing property, and all of a sudden you're infested with these prairie dogs, and they come in like voles, and they create all the holes, they destroy your lawns, they destroy your pastures, they destroy anything on your property, and you, the property owner, take methods, whether it's through poison or whatever, to get rid of them. What happens then?
That is a federal crime. You could go to jail for that. And I think it's important to highlight that it's not just if you do something like poisoning. You don't have to actually harm a prairie dog to have committed a federal crime. If you want to catch a prairie dog on private property and move it to a conservation area, that itself is a crime. And I think that's one of the interesting developments of the case. After we won in the trial court, which was the first time a federal court has ever struck down a regulation like this as unconstitutional, the state of Utah took the opportunity to change its regulations. In the past, it was basically bound to follow whatever the federal government was doing. But after that regulation went away, it basically took the approach that it wants to proactively move prairie dogs from residential and developed neighborhoods where they don't really belong and move them to natural areas in their natural habitat and conservation areas.
Now, I'm sitting here, and I'm not trying to beleaguer this problem, but I want to make sure the audience understands that these folks that have bought property and they own it legally as private property, they can build the buildings, they can have the corrals, they want to have beautiful lawns, etc. And all of a sudden, some of these prairie dogs take up residence on their property and destroy it. They can absolutely destroy anything. They're like voles, holes here and the lawns chewed up, everything. That property owner is at the whim and will of the government and the Endangered Species Act, and that property owner can't do a doggone thing. Is that what you're saying?
That is absolutely right. This is a problem that's affected a lot of property owners across the country, but in particular the Utah prairie dog. The whole community has been suffering for 4 decades under regulations like this, and ultimately they became fed up when they saw what was happening to the airport and the cemetery, and they formed an organization called People for the Ethical Treatment of Property Owners and filed this lawsuit. And basically they decided that enough was enough, that their concerns and the costs imposed on them should be heard, and that the state, not the federal government, was in a position to listen.
I'm sitting here and I can think of so many bureaucracy devils that are out there today. I think of the man-made pond over in Wyoming, Jonathan, where the family, they dug a pond, they had permits from the state of Wyoming, and after they had spent literally thousands and thousands of dollars to put this very nice pond in to help the wildlife and help the fishing and help the family situation, the EPA came in there and told them that they had to take it down or they'd be fined $75,000 a day. And along with the Endangered Species Act, right here in the state of Idaho with the wolf situation, and now the sage grouse issue becoming and looming on the horizon as what might eventually kill the West and all of its communities. Jonathan, we're in trouble, and can we win?
Well, I think that there's hope, and that the victory we won in the trial court, and we hope that we are able to defend in the 10th Circuit, is the way to do that. If regulations like the Utah Prairie Dog regulation are unconstitutional, that will, I think, ultimately mean that the Endangered Species Act will have to be reconsidered, because its primary tool, the prohibition against any activity that has any effect on illicit species, would basically be unenforceable for at least quite a few species and for quite a bit of activity. And I think that will be important in paring it back.
Where are, Jonathan, I know you're doing all you can on behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation, but where are the senators? Where are the congressmen? Where are the elected officials that are elected to stand up for their constituents? Has anybody got a backbone anymore?
Well, I can report that yesterday was the due date for amici briefs, our friend of the court briefs, supporting People via Ethical Treatment of Property Owners challenge. And one of the briefs filed in support of our challenge was by, I believe, 7 senators and 5 congressmen, in addition to another brief that was filed on behalf of the state of Utah and 9 other states. So I think people are starting to take notice. I know there are at least a handful of bills right now in front of that Congress is considering to amend the Endangered Species Act to pare back some of these more burdensome regulations.
Let me ask you this, as an attorney. What would you do? I mean, here you are. You just bought yourself, let's take a nice little 5-acre piece of real estate, and you're developing it for maybe a couple of horses for the kids, and maybe a couple of dogs, and maybe you'd like to have just a nice big play area for the kids. You got beautiful lawns, and all of a sudden, an infestation of these Utah prairie dogs come in there, and they are totally destroying it. You've lost your property value. You have no resale. What would you do if you were the person that was that property owner, Jonathan?
You know, the sad thing is there's really nothing you can do other than plead and hope a Washington bureaucrat cares. Because there's nothing that requires them to take into consideration any of the incredible burdens placed on individuals. They don't have to pay you if they take away your property. They don't have to pay you for any of the effects that the regulation has on you. And they don't have to answer to you because they're unelected bureaucrats. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot that, the individual property owner can do to push back.
Let me ask you this, and I feel like you're very well versed on what you're talking about this morning, and so I'll kind of expand our conversation away from and also including the Utah prairie dog, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the sage grouse listing. This is absolutely insane that with a possible listing onto the Endangered Species Act, that the sage grouse could be the absolute killer to any community out west. I mean, we could see economic ruin because of that listing on the ESA. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a very significant risk, and I think that's actually the purpose of a lot of the petitions that call for species to be added to the list. Radical environmental groups like Center for Biological Diversity have been petitioning to add species to the list by the hundreds. And the species they're choosing are the species that will shut down development. So throughout the southeast, they've been choosing fish because that will give them control over watersheds. Through the west and the middle of the country, they've been choosing things like the grouse, which will shut down development, oil and gas extraction, and ranching and agriculture. And, this is a very significant concern. My understanding is that the states are taking that seriously, and they're trying desperately to develop a plan and devote resources to conserving the grouse to avoid the Endangered Species Act's harsh consequences. And hopefully that will succeed. It's happened a couple of times, most recently, I believe, in Texas, to prevent the listing of a lizard. The state invested tons of resources to prove that, one, the species wasn't as nearly as endangered as the conservation or environmental group was claiming, and 2, that the state was fully committed and capable of protecting the species without the federal government's intrusion and unbelievably burdensome regulations. Hopefully the same thing will happen for the grouse.
Let me say this, and listen carefully, Jonathan, and tell me if I'm wrong. It's not about protecting the species. I will say this, and I'll take the burden of my words. It's absolutely a lie, a farce, and a joke if we think that they're doing this for the protection of the species. It is not. It is for that 7-letter word that you mentioned earlier in your last phraseology. It's the word control. That's what they want. They want to take away private property rights. They want to control all the property, and they're using the species protection as a device to get it. Am I wrong or right?
Well, we don't know what their motives are, but that's certainly what happens. The Endangered Species Act is not good at resurrecting species and bringing them back to the point where they can be taken off the list. It is good at shutting down economic development. So whatever the motives are of the groups that are using the Endangered Species Act, all that's happening is that species are being kept on the precipice for decades, and people are losing their rights. Nothing's being done to get the species off the list and grow them back to the populations they need to be self-sustaining.
Okay, so here we have a problem, and thank God that we have you, the Pacific Legal Foundation, and you as an attorney, sharp guy, you know what you're talking about. But what would you tell my audience? What can they do? I mean, man, they feel like their hands are tied.
Well, I mean, I think, obviously, supporting Pacific Legal Foundation is an excellent way to help us in our fight. But, also, telling people about this problem. Most people never realize that, the way the Endangered Species Act affects people. Because if you're living in a city or you've already built your house, you're probably not going to have too many Endangered Species Act problems. The Utah prairie dog is one of the few exceptions where they've moved into residential neighborhoods, so suddenly people that have already built their houses are having problems. Most of the people affected are farmers and ranchers and people who have undeveloped property that is still mostly in its natural state and suitable for species. So the vast majority of us don't see the consequences. So telling your friends, the next time you're stuck at a dinner party sitting next to a boring person, just telling them the story can help spread the message. And obviously, calling your congressman and calling your local elected officials and getting them involved is an excellent way to bring more attention to the issue.
You mentioned in an earlier part of our conversation about the sky's the limit. I mean, who knows what these weirdos, these crackpots, and these politically correct people are going to shoot at next? What are they going to say? Are they going to go after anthills? Are they going to go after voles? Are they going to go after field mice out in the field that might get run over by a tractor? I mean, where does this idiocy stop?
There is no stopping point. Most people, when they think of endangered species, they think only of the charismatic species like the wolf or something that, gets a visceral reaction. But the statute is incredibly broad. As I mentioned, about 1,500 species already listed, including hundreds of plants, dozens of insects, including, I think in one case a few years ago, where economic development was shut down in a large section of Texas because of a subterranean cave bug. An insect that no one ever sees because it's in a cave deep underground. And if you own property, you couldn't know whether developing it would harm the species. So basically, you just lost your rights on the assumption that there probably are cave bugs beneath you. So, yeah, the reach of the statute, the breadth is unbelievable, and that just adds to the unbelievably harsh consequences. If you do anything that affects a listed species, even if you don't know the species is listed or that you're going to harm it, you could go to jail. So I live in Sacramento, and near where I live is a jogging path along the American River, and periodically through that there's habitats of something called the Valley elderberry longhorn beetle. If while out on a jog I accidentally step on a beetle crossing my path, I've committed a federal crime. That's something that people don't seem to realize and is seriously troubling.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I want to elaborate a little bit on that. I mean, a happenstance to where you step on this beetle while you're jogging, and all of a sudden somebody doesn't like you, and they're jogging towards you, and they've had some animus against you in the past. They could turn you in for stepping on that beetle, and you might go to prison because you stepped on a doggone bug?
Yeah, it's not what Congress intended. They wrote the Endangered Species Act not to impose the incredibly harsh criminal punishments for stuff like that. But the agencies that enforce it have interpreted it to basically mean if you do anything that even accidentally causes harm to a listed species, you can go to jail, and the court's been complicit and let them do that. I think one of the more absurd examples recently is that the Fish and Wildlife Service has hired people to fly over the East Coast in helicopters and planes with banners behind it to warn surfers that it is a crime to get within 5 football fields of a right whale, and it doesn't matter whether or not you can identify a right whale from 500 yards. If you just happen to get within that buffer zone, you've committed a crime. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't distinguish a right whale from any other kind of whale from that distance, particularly not on a surfboard in the middle of the ocean.
I am absolutely appalled, and it's such a blessing to have you come on this program and discuss this with us, because I don't think the general audience really appreciates, nor do I, how serious some of these things are. Now, in order to follow this story and others with the Pacific Legal Foundation, how can people log on and find out more about what you're doing to protect us?
You can go to our website, which is pacificlegal.org, or follow us on our blog, which is blog.pacificlegal.org.
Jonathan, you got to come back. You got to promise to come back in the future. You're excellent. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Jonathan Wood, and he's with the Pacific Legal Foundation, a staff attorney. Folks, listen to me just a second. This is lunacy, what's going on in this country. And it's not just this administration, it's the senators and the congressmen and the nincompoops that we've put back in office. All of them. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, my comment is that the bureaucracies, our whole system was set up that you're innocent until you're proven guilty. But with the bureaucracies, all of them, whether it's OSHA, EPA, IRS, you're guilty, and then you have to prove yourself innocent. But I agree totally. This is all about control. And people, if you notice, your food prices are going up, not only because of the drought, but they dried up at least 400,000 acres of prime agriculture land in California for the Delta smelt. The water is going to save the fish. Here in Idaho, we're going to waste and make salt water out of 427,000 acre feet. And I found out that some bureaucrat made a mistake and they dumped 107,000 acre feet needlessly this spring when they thought we were going to have, too much water. And so these guys, the bureaucrats, they pull their paycheck, but I can guarantee you, they're not in our best interest overall.
Adrian, thank you very much. I appreciate those comments. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Amen. Thanks a lot.
I remember, excuse me, I remember a story, and I was there when this happened. Down in the Fresno, California area, I was down announcing the Clovis Rodeo. This has been, I'm going to probably say it wrong, about 12, 13 years ago. And a farmer in that area unconsciously ran over, while he was disking in his field, a kangaroo rat, which is a protected species. Now, he's out disking in the field and the rat gets run over. Oh my goodness, they shut him down. Do you remember this? I'm sure you do. Basically, the man lost his farm. And now we're talking about this story this morning. In southern Utah, the prairie dogs are moving in on private property. They are destroying private property. They're absolutely just tearing up the lawns. They're tearing up the pastures. They're ruining the hay fields. Holes all over the place. And private property owners can't do anything. Can't do anything. Sage grouse, wolf, the issues go on and on and on. All these people connected to these various issues want is control. They want your property. They want you off the property. And here we sit like a sponge, and we take this. We absorb this. We should be up in arms. It should be like it was 250 years ago, and we should be absolutely sticking our fist in the air and saying, no, this isn't going to happen. But it is. We've got to do the weather forecast, and the weather this hour is brought to you by one of my favorite places, Duck Ugly. Great food, great environment, great entertainment. I'll tell you what, Mr. Jack Bates has hit a home run out of the park with this. He's the brand new owner-manager, and on Fridays and Saturdays, delicious smoked barbecued ribs, and breakfast in the morning, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 11 with those delicious breakfast burritos. Knock your socks off delicious. And on Mondays, they've got what they call the Old Duck Decoy Special. Quarter-pound burger, fries, and a drink. Monday only for the seniors for only $6. Holy cow, Duck Ugly's, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. It is good. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. The rain continues. It will continue until Thursday night. I could really get into the intricacies of what's causing it. Is it normal? Is it not normal? All that stuff. But you're in the situation now where as you get close to summer, you've had about enough of it. And even though I did tell you exactly what's causing it, it's not going to stop. So the bottom line is you get weather in plain English. You get rain for today, tonight. You got rain that's going to continue all the way to Thursday night. You'll have a nice weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then you're going to pick right back up where you left off on Sunday. Daytime highs for today, upper 60s, low 70s, overnight low to mid, make that mid to upper 40s. So enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. You sure need the water. The only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Brought to everybody by one of my favorite places. Oh, boy, the food's good. The entertainment's great at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about all this? I mean, when you look around you and you look around at your environment and you hear stories about the government's telling us what we can wear. The government is telling us what we can eat. Big Mama Obama, she's got new rules and regulations. Oh, yeah. And the government is telling you, oh, no, it doesn't make any difference, Mr. Private Property Owner. If you own that property, why, how dare you try to touch an endangered species? You're going to jail for the rest of your life. What in the world is the matter with us? Oh, we think, well, that's the other guy. That's my neighbor down the road. Ah, well, that's not me. That's too bad. It's not. It's all of us. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Just a quick statement here about this endangered species deal. I think it's plain and simple, purely communist infiltration into our society. This is the way that they said they would take us over and control us from the inside without firing a shot.
I can't argue that. I agree with that. I keep thinking of that myself. Nikita Khrushchev over here in the United States in the 60s, and he said, don't worry about it. We won't have to have a war. We can take America over without firing a gun. You're 100% right.
Exactly how they're going to do it.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless.
I'm just surprised at the lack of fight. I'm surprised at the lack of standing up and saying enough is enough. I'm surprised at the lack of worrying. I'm surprised at the lack of sticking your chin out like we used to in America and saying, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I own this property. I'm taking care of this property. I bought this property, and I'm not going to let these rodents take over my property and diminish my property values, my resale value, and let them have it, and I've got to go find another place to live. Are you crazy? Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, I have to speak up on this one. Doesn't the state have any say-so on this?
When you say state, are you talking about the 50 states or the state of Utah? What are you talking about?
The state of Utah.
Yeah.
Period. Don't they have the final say-so on
Not over the federal challenges with the Endangered Species Act. That's the whole problem. That last attorney was talking about very succinctly the constitutional limits, if there are any, of the Endangered Species Act. And Kiltman, quite frankly, they don't think there is. They can come in, they'll send you in jail, and maybe give you 3 squares a day, but man, you've had it if you got a prairie dog on your property.
Well, I may have had it because I'd take them out before they ruin my property. And, farmers, stuff like that. I'm sorry, I'm fed up with all this tree hugging stuff.
Well, it's got to stop.
It's gone too far. It's like these stupid unions and that.
Yep.
They've carried it too far. Yes, there was a time when it was needed, but guess what? It's not there anymore. But they're still pushing it.
But people will not stand up and fight for themselves or their rights anymore. They kind of go like old milk cows, into the barn and out of the barn. Big deal. That's got to stop. We got to start fighting.
Well, and that's where the state needs to step in and starts limiting to what the federal government can do. Federal government, everybody knows, is overreach, period.
Yep.
It's overreach. state government's supposed to have this final say-so in their area, and federal government can say yes or no, but the state should have the final say-so.
Kilt, man, I appreciate your call as always. God bless you, man. Thanks.
You bet.
All right, I got to run to the news. Well, in my case, I'll limp along to the news, and we'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, good morning, and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, we appreciate some of our great advertisers, too. My goodness, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today. Locally owned and operated, 734-6969. And our thanks go out to Valley Wide Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything, and I mean everything, for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Right now, let's take a look and see what's on the menu for a special today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, my, listen to this. Greek beef kebabs served with tzatziki sauce. Is that how you say that? Tzatziki sauce. Served on pitas with choice of super salad. Tzatziki sauce. Sounds good to me. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You be sure and stop in. Great menu items and a super nice crew serving you at the Chadwick in Burley. Also, real quick, I want to remind everybody the Minnecasia Relay for Life is right around the corner, and believe me, when it comes to defeating anything about cancer, all the money that we can gain for research, absolutely, we're in favor of. And the Minnecasia Relay for Life is going to be June 19th and 20th, starting at 6 p.m. with the opening ceremonies on the 19th, right there at the Cassia County Fairgrounds in Burley. For more information, call 260-0436. The Minnecasia Relay for Life for 2015. Let's go to the phone line right now, and with us on the air, Jason Hart. Good morning, Jason. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I am great. Where in the world are we calling to? Where is 937? You've got me on that area code.
Well, the area code is from Piqua, Ohio, where I grew up over in the western part of the state in Miami County. I live in central Ohio now.
Okay, are you a big John Kasich fan?
I am not a big John Kasich fan, no, but that's probably a whole separate topic.
Yeah, we could get into that later if you want to. Hey, listen, you wrote a very, very interesting and provocative piece called Obamacare Expansion Cash Could Fill Huge Highway Funding Gap. What do you mean when you say that headline? I mean, have you got a great way to fund the highway infrastructure without increasing my taxes?
Well, I don't know if it's a great way, but I certainly think it's something that Congress should consider. Congressman Bruce Westerman introduced a bill last week that would not end the Obamacare Medicaid expansion, but simply reduce the federal funding for the Obamacare Medicaid expansion so that it's set the same as traditional Medicaid. Currently, Obamacare promises 100% federal funding until the end of next year for any state that adds working-age, able-bodied, childless adults to Medicaid. So here in Ohio, we've added a little over 500,000 people to the Medicaid rolls, and the federal government is picking up the entire tab for the benefit costs. Mm-hmm. And that's around $300 million every month in new federal spending just for Obamacare expansion recipients here in the Buckeye State. So nationally, obviously, some states have expanded Medicaid under Obamacare. Some states have not. I understand that Idaho has not at this point. And, you're paying federal taxes. You're helping pick up the tab for able-bodied, working-age adults who don't have any kids and are now eligible for Medicaid purely based on their income. So if I decided not to work and my income sank below 138% of the federal poverty line, based on that alone, I would be eligible for Medicaid under the Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And what Congressman Westerman has proposed is to reduce that funding and set it down to what current traditional Medicaid recipients receive. So the people who used to be understood as the neediest populations in America, who really needed some kind of government assistance, the aged, the blind, the disabled, impoverished families, pregnant women, those folks here in Ohio, the funding from the federal government is about 63%. It varies. Some states get an even smaller federal match for traditional Medicaid recipients. Some states it goes as high as 74%. But in no state do traditional Medicaid recipients receive as much federal funding as Obamacare expansion recipients. And in Congressman Westerman's opinion, it's not fair, especially considering how much money the federal government spends. We're at about $18 trillion in national debt, not including unfunded liabilities for Social Security, for Medicare. And so the way he sees it, this bill is just a reprioritization, and the Highway Trust Fund is the way that the federal government distributes gas tax, diesel tax revenue to all of the states to pay for highway projects. Some of them, I think most people would agree, are reasonable highway projects, maintenance of the interstates. Many of those projects, I think people would be skeptical of, local, maybe a sidewalk repair or a bike path or programs like that I would argue should be paid for entirely with local money. So the Highway Trust Fund spends billions of dollars each year, and for several years now has run billions of dollars over the amount of money that's sitting there that's collected in gas taxes. So some Republicans in Congress have already expressed support for raising, as you alluded to, that gas tax, raising the tax on diesel fuel. And Congressman Westerman has just proposed an alternative that would reduce that Obamacare expansion funding from the federal government and instead direct that money into the Highway Trust Fund so that we can continue spending money on infrastructure projects rather than paying out entitlement benefits for working-age, able-bodied adults who don't have any kids. Now, in my opinion, it's not really a long-term solution until we figure out how to get our spending under control so that we're not constantly digging ourselves into a hole where we have to shuffle money around year after year, or we have to talk about tax hikes year after year. But I think realistically, it could be a very appealing alternative to the Republican majorities in the House of Representatives and in the Senate because, well, for all the reasons that I just explained, the Obamacare expansion is really a ridiculous mechanism for funding this new welfare program, and the Highway Trust Fund is, I think, an argument could be made, a more reasonable use of that federal spending.
I like it. I mean, I've sat here and I've read your piece, and it's very explanatory. I thought you did a wonderful job. Let me throw a couple of things at you, and I want you to respond. The way I heard you explain it, and what Congressman Westerman is proposing, is that I think it would even help increase personal responsibility and remove a lot of pigs from the trough of the federal bureaucracy eating away our federal money. I think it's going to create personal responsibility, and it's going to keep the money there for the people that really need it, and it's going to make the people that don't need it get up, get to work, be responsible for themselves. I think this is a good idea. Am I listening to you wrong, or am I right?
I think, and a point that Congressman Westerman made is that, I forget the exact phrasing that he used, but essentially the increased federal match for the Obamacare expansion is a lure to get states to expand Medicaid under Obamacare. The intention of the people who wrote the bill, it's pretty widely understood that they put in that increased federal funding so that the states would not sue the federal government over Medicaid expansion. But, of course, the states did sue the federal government and did win the right to opt out of the Medicaid expansion.
Right.
The way Congressman Westerman described it to me is he sees this as an opportunity to cut the lure off the line, and if states decide that funded by the feds at the same rate as traditional Medicaid, suddenly the Obamacare expansion isn't something that they want to participate in. I think he would see that as a positive thing. I certainly would see that as a positive thing because we're, again, spending so much money, and it's certainly an issue when we're $18 trillion in debt and the federal government is dangling the promise of full federal funding for a new entitlement out in front of the states. And a lot of the states, states like Ohio, and of course the bigger, bluer states like California and New York and Illinois are adding hundreds of thousands of people to the welfare rolls when we really couldn't afford to pay for all the benefits we were promising to the people who already relied on that system.
You know, Jason, and the problem with, and I'll say this to any Republican senator or congressman that wants to take issue with me, is that when we give increased taxes to the government per se, en masse, we have no guarantees that that money's going to stay there for the increasing benefit of the infrastructure. It probably will go for some absolutely asinine activity like trying to figure out how many revolutions a little hamster is going to have on a treadmill. I am sick and tired of funding frivolous, stupid projects instead of the money going where it deserves. And this sounds, through Westerman, that it's going to work.
Yeah, and the proposal, it wouldn't just try to cover up the gap in the Highway Trust Fund that Congress continues to patch over each year with these short-term fixes that just shuffle money around from the general fund. But it would also, he thinks it would save enough money to help reduce the deficit each year. So, I don't know realistically what the likelihood is of this bill ever making its way out of committee. I don't know what kind of support from leadership the bill might see, but when you consider that we've got Republicans, including a couple of Republican congressmen from here in Ohio, who have already endorsed, and in the case of Congressman Jim Renacci, actually sponsored a bill that would hike the gas tax and hike the diesel tax to put more money in the Highway Trust Fund, I think that Congressman Westerman's proposal is certainly an alternative that would be deserving of consideration, if nothing else.
You know, the hiking of gas tax and diesel tax is absolutely cutting your nose off to spite your face, because with the increased taxes, people drive less and they're not going to spend more money at Baskin-Robbins or at the grocery store or whatever. And it's about high time that our paid senators and congressmen start realizing they better look for innovative ways to save money and make money for the government rather than just coming back and taxing the American public. I salute Congressman Westerman. I really hope this does work.
We'll definitely try and keep tabs on this proposal and try and stay abreast of any other options that Congress is considering for the Highway Trust Fund over at watchdog.org.
Well, I appreciate. Now, tell us a little bit about watchdog.org, your organization. I'm not that familiar with representatives on my program. Tell us what it is, what it's trying to do, and what you do there.
Okay, well, Watchdog is a project of the Franklin Center for Government and Public Integrity. The Franklin Center is a nonprofit, and Watchdog is dedicated to highlighting waste, fraud, and abuse in the government and trying to bring some accountability, not just for public officials, but for some of the organizations, whether they're these big government groups promoting more entitlement spending, or labor unions promoting mandatory union dues, or any number of other rent seekers that rely on the government to give them some kind of an advantage that they really wouldn't have if it were a freer market. So that's kind of the goal of the organization. I'm the national labor reporter for Watchdog, and I divide my time between covering national labor issues primarily and Ohio politics here a little bit more locally.
All right, we've got a caller with a question, Jason. Go ahead, caller, please.
Oh, yeah, what happened to that $800 billion for those shovel-ready jobs? Where'd all that money go? That should be enough to rip the roads for years.
All right, we'll have Jason respond to that. What about those shovel-ready jobs and all the money, Jason? What happened to all that?
Well, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's been, I think, a couple of years ago now. There was some summit where President Obama was asked that very question, and he just kind of laughed it off and said, it turned out that shovel-ready wasn't as shovel-ready as we had hoped. And, of course, a large portion of that stimulus, and imagine air quotes around the word stimulus there, went to green energy programs and a lot of the very sort of rent-seeking that we try and keep tabs on over at watchdog.org.
I really compliment you. This is a very well-written article, and Jason, I'm going to put your name down on my day planner to have you back in the future. Thank you for being on the program this morning, and the best to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
All right, sir. Thank you. Very interesting article. You know, when you stop and think about this, stop and think about it just for a minute. We need more money. Okay, let's tax the American taxpayer. We need more money for infrastructure. Oh, let's hang a bigger tax on gas and diesel. We need more money for this. Let's hang a bigger tax on... You know what? Wait a minute. Westerman is saying in a nutshell, you've got plenty of money laying back here, Washington. Why don't we figure out ways that we can cut back on expenses? Why don't we figure out ways that we can cut back on waste? Why don't we figure out ways that we can save programs and put money into programs for those that are responsible and really in need, and cut off the dead wood, cut off the deadbeats that are taking advantage of the program? Why don't we try to save money and have it available for other projects? Oh, gee, what a novel idea. Instead of tax. More, and then waste it. Like studying hamsters on a treadmill. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Here's one congressman, this Westerman. I'm going to personally send him a note saying, I hope your bill goes through. I think it's very wise. I think it's very well stated that he's trying to save us, the taxpayers, more money. On Thursdays, tomorrow, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we really want to say thank you to both of our sponsors for Cassia County School Days, and they are Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. And if you need surgery like life-saving colonoscopies or hand and knee surgeries or certain other procedures, call them, talk to them, and they can save you a lot of money. Very professional care at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland in Burley. And also a Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They are having their 14th annual Everything for Babies and Toddlers sale. Oh, my goodness sakes, everything for the wee ones. And for the grown-ups, they've got 20% off on hundreds of summer dresses, too. And always gift wrapping is free. So why don't you stop in at a Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you school days in Cassia County. That'll be tomorrow at 10:12, as a matter of fact, so stay tuned for that. Calls are welcome. I still got time. Give me a jingle on the landline. And the number's 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, Dave Zanino and his family are going to put on, starting tonight, hopefully, the first of a summer series of team ropings at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. And that'll be every Wednesday night with sign up at 6:30, rope at 7, 3 for $25 draw pot. That starts tonight at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. And then my dear friend Jimmy Flowers, I talked to him yesterday, and we're going to get him on the air next Monday, and we're going to be talking about the great big Minnecasia Auto Collectors 29th Annual Classics on the Grass Car Show. And they're going to have all kinds of wonderful, beautiful, customized, refurbished cars. It's going to be exciting to see. It gets bigger every year. Cassia County Fairgrounds in Burley on June 6th and 7th, and it's called Classics on the Grass. Jimmy will tell us a lot more on next Monday morning. By the way, too, don't forget our friends at Streamline Precision. Hello, Tim Vaughn. How are you? Number to call, 431-7314. And they can build anything. They specialize in large-scale industrial project experts in constructing agricultural buildings, grain silos, commercial steel buildings, and they're an authorized dealer with Sukup, Chief Balin, and Nucor Buildings. Absolutely. Call him for an estimate today. Tim Vaughn at 431-7314. And they've also got the big rigs to handle all your dirt hauling with the big side dump trucks, and they've got the big heavy rigs for hauling your farm equipment from field A to field B. They can get the job done for you. Call Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley, 431-7314. The professionals building for you. All right, let's take a look here. Next hour, we're going to have a brand new person. We got a whole bunch of new people here today. And we're going to have Tori Richards. And to give you a little background on Tori, she's worked for CBS News, Bloomberg, Reuters, and she's been an agent over for the French press. She's worked for the New York Times. And we're going to be discussing with her how the environmentalists up at a Western Washington University, the students tried to revoke one of the teacher's master's degrees, and we're going to talk about that coming up with Tori in just a few minutes. Also, real quick, don't forget, on tomorrow at 10:30, we have another segment that a lot of people listen to and really enjoy, and that's the gardening segment with the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Now, the program was named after me. It's called Gardening for Idiots. Yep, that's me. I'm not a very good gardener, but I'm learning. And I'll tell you what, Vicky's Country Garden is all packed to the gills with everything you need for your garden and flower beds, the veggies and the plants and the petunias and all the perennials, everything, and all the decorative rock, whatever you need to spruce your home up at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number 438-5663. Now, I encourage you to call tomorrow during that segment. It's going to be on at 10:32. And if you have any gardening questions, don't hesitate to ask the lovely Miss Vicky tomorrow, okay? Let's see, what else have I got here? I talked to you about the team rope, and I talked to you about the car show. I think that's about it, and we're going to turn it back over to Wheels at our main studio, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome back into the last half hour. We're down the home stretch for this morning and looking forward to our next guest. And we have with us in just a moment Tori Richards, so stand by for that. Quickly, I want to remind everybody that Ramsey Heating and Electric can offer rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. For over 50 years, Ramsey and Lennox, you bet, working together to save you money. And they sell warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Well, good morning to Tori Richards. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I'm a little bit curious. I don't think we've ever had you on the program before, so now you get a chance to step up on the soapbox and tell us everything we should know about Tori Richards, what you do, who you work for, and what we're going to talk about this morning.
Oh my gosh, I've been a journalist for about 25 years, and I work for Watchdog.org right now, which is a nonprofit investigative news site that does primarily politics, waste, fraud, and abuse. But before that, I've worked everywhere from Reuters, the New York Times, Bloomberg, covering major trials with celebrities such as O.J. Simpson, Robert Blake, Anna Nicole Smith, things like that. And so now I've turned my eyes towards politics, and I kind of miss crime, but then I thought, well, hey, I mean, this really is crime. It's just people wearing suits. So that's how I look at it. And I like going into public records and lawsuits and filings, and you can always trace the money and see where something's going. And inevitably, it's bad news for the taxpayer, so I just like to highlight that so people are aware.
You know, Tori, let me interrupt you right there and say that I really respect a journalist that will get into this aspect of it and try to blow the whistle on some of these different groups that are basically trying to take control of America. I don't care if it's with the Endangered Species Act or if it's the EPA or whatever, but you have a story this morning that I thought was very well written, and I read it and I was infuriated because I'm absolutely against the radical environmental movement in this country. But Western Washington University students demanded that their school revoke a master's degree for a person because they thought he wasn't radical enough on global warming. Tell me about this, please.
I mean, it's just kind of bizarre, and you've heard the saying that, you know, the strangest things are true. I mean, you can just make this stuff up. But there's a group of students at Western Washington University, and they do not like their state senator named Doug Erickson, and he happens to chair their Environmental and Telecommunications Committee. But he's pretty conservative, and he doesn't believe that global warming is man-made. He doesn't believe in cap and trade. He doesn't believe in forcing down the throats of businesses and citizens different environmental issues. And so if you want to go green or have solar in your house or whatever you want to do, that's fine for you, but he doesn't like spending the government's resources to force people to do it. And so that has kind of been at odds with some of the citizens there, and there was a group at this particular university where he happens to have a master's degree in environmental science, and they said, well, hey, he's just bad for us, and this isn't, you know, the way that it is, so we demand that the university revoke his degree. I mean, that's what they were trying to get this grassroots groundswell to do.
Why is it, in your opinion, Tori, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but why is it, in your opinion, from studying this story, writing about this story, why are so many Americans buying into what I will say idiocy of global warming or climate change without really doing the research on their own? I mean, there's a lot of people. I've got people on my program every week that are scientists, they are professors at major universities, they're climatologists, everything that are saying absolutely not. We're in a cyclical change for the weather. It's going to be going back the other way, perhaps much, much colder. And why is the American public being duped by, especially this Obama administration, into accepting climate change?
I think, for the most part, I mean, they do see pollution, you know, and then the ocean's just filled with trash and, you know, species disappearing, and then there just has to be a reason for all of this. And you have people that are spending big money on this. I mean, billions have been poured into anything having to do with the environment dating back to Bush and Clinton, but certainly Obama. And so then they have all the money in the world to do this PR spin and to buy different programs and to gear them up and then push them down the throats of Americans. And so it just kind of looks legit. You know, here you get in your, even down to your individual cities. I mean, you'll get in your bill for your gas or electric, you know, oh, we need to go green because this is happening, and it's just stated as it's a fact from the government, and so people, they just believe it.
You know, the thing I'm really concerned about is this gentleman, Senator Doug Erickson, earned his degree, and then he wasn't radical enough on global warming for these students, and they want to revoke his master's degree. Basically, this is the truth about all of these folks, whether they are environmentalists with climate change, whether they're animal rights activists. If you don't go along with what they want, they're going to come and get you, and they're going to bury you out in the dirt. Isn't that really the philosophy?
That is true. And what's funny is, I mean, you get some of these news organizations that buy into it, and then this kind of got steam with a newspaper up there called the Bellingham Herald. And so it was just this really one-sided column that was written that was giving these students a platform. And And I'm looking at it, and I thought, this is news. I mean, it's no journalism school I went to, certainly. And when I write or have written for Bloomberg and Reuters, I mean, there's a very high standard, and you have to have almost a boring type of tone to where you are in the middle and you're not taking a viewpoint. I mean, it's different if you want to do the news versus writing a column. And so this was just printed in there just like it's fact. And I just thought it was just ludicrous. And so I was looking for some sort of explanation, and then here they say, here's a quote from the students. Senator Erickson is welcome to have whatever political views he wants, but by misinforming the public on the science of climate change, he is undermining the credibility of our own degrees and reflecting poorly on the caliber of education students receive here. Apparently they haven't had history lessons. They don't know what the First Amendment is. But that's precisely what they were hit back with by the president of the university, that just basically said, this is just ridiculous.
Well,
we're not going to do this. He has a right to say whatever he wants, and in fact, he's a high-profile member of our university, and we are happy to have him.
And where I really get upset is these so-called knowledgeable young people and the Tom Steyers of the world, etc. They say, well, 95% of all the scientists agree. Wait a minute. Stop the bus for a minute. 95% is absolutely a fictitious lie. These people only asked maybe a certain number of scientists, and maybe 95% of that certain number agreed. But when you start talking to various climatologists, when you start talking to people that are meteorologists, when you start talking to people like the University of Houston and other great universities, and they're saying that man-made climate change is not happening, you've got to listen to the other side. You can't just lock yourself in a closet and put something in your ears and say, there's not two sides to this coin. That's where I get upset.
No, that's how the far left is, and some people in the middle. I mean, you just cannot sway their opinion, and then that's that. And everybody else that doesn't go along with the program, they just decide, well, you hate America, you're un-American, you're not intelligent, you are rich. There's all these different kind of monikers that they just slap with people that have no basis in reality. I mean, another misnomer is this whole solar industry, and I've been investigating them for a year. And so then that's something else again. That's just a huge waste of taxpayer dollars that
absolutely.
The technology isn't there to warrant what people are shelling out for this. But you just can't say anything. And here is this brave senator, I think, more power to him, and he's actually in a position of power. And so then in the end, I mean, this didn't matter. All it did was bring attention to the fact that these people are just foolish.
Let me ask you this, Tori, and I know you're familiar with this happening last week when Obama was speaking in front of the Coast Guard cadets, and he made the statement that climate change is the biggest threat to our military today. When I heard that quote on television, I about fell out of my lazy boy, because I thought, here we are with ISIS, here we are with Al-Qaeda, here we are with the infiltration of the United States. We don't know where we're going to get hit next. We don't know what's happening with security around the world, and this president says that climate change is the biggest threat to our world and our nation. What were your thoughts?
No, it's just ludicrous, but just like par for the course with this person, and it just can't, his term just can't come soon enough. But I mean, he is fueled by billionaires like Tom Steyer, who is just the backup to this machine and just running it. And coincidentally, Mr. Steyer tried to get this very senator, Erickson, out of office, and so he spent $1 billion in the state of Washington trying to do that with other candidates, which none of that worked. But they'll just throw the money at it right and left, and so I think it's important that people like myself and news organizations like Watchdog and other groups, that we follow the money and we look beyond what the rhetoric is, and that people educate themselves and vote in the right way.
But
because these are your tax dollars. This is where Obama wants to put his money, or
right.
American taxpayer money, sorry. But I mean, that's what they want to sell to the American public. And maybe it's to take away from his own failures in other parts of his administration, and so, like, let's look over here and not where we really need to look. And it just highlights the utter failure that everything else has been, such as a foreign policy. I don't know.
Let's carry this a little step further, and God forbid that Hillary Clinton gets elected as president. I mean, I absolutely have some real stones to throw at that campaign. But she's no better. She's already advocated the climate change, advocated for much tougher and stringent rules. My goodness, the American public has got to speak up and do something before it's too late. And you know as well as I do, Tori, it's not about protecting the environment. It's about a 7-letter word, control. They want more control over the American public.
I've looked into what the federal government has been spending on environmental issues and regulations for people, and then this mandate that Obama has that everything has to be, I think, something like, I'm probably misquoting the number, 20% within the next few years of your household has to be green. But it's billions that is spent on this. And it's not going to our military, it's not going to NASA, it's not going to programs that have traditionally, been held dear by the American public. It's this.
Yeah.
And then you have his friends like Tom Steyer, and then you have Hillary running around with her foundation, which, by the way, the whole purpose of the Bill Clinton Foundation was to help the environment and to help people who are poor and sick. But most of it was like environmental issues. That's what it was based upon initially. I haven't looked at it lately. But they were founded to do that. And then we all know what kind of disaster that foundation has turned into. But this is Hillary, and it's more of the same.
What would you tell my audience, and we live in a very conservative area out here in southern Idaho, but what would you tell my audience they need to do? They need to get up off the couch. They need to get involved. What would you tell my audience to do to make themselves more vocal and to be heard about the negativity that's going on in government today?
Well, first of all, they need to be educated the only thing you can really do is back the right candidates who are going to have your voice. And so they need to educate themselves because important elections are coming up and to see who is saying what. And usually it is the Republicans that aren't buying this bill of goods. Some of them do. But don't believe everything, and for God's sake, don't run out and get solar on your house unless you know what you're doing. Don't spend your hard-earned cash on different types of green issues that you think are going to be the savior of everything. You can go to watchdog.org and you can read up on everything I've written about Solar City and the environment. And it's just, I don't know, I can't use certain words legally, and my lawyer tells me. But I just think education is the best thing. And I get emails from people around the U.S. like every single day thanking me for articles that I've written saying, oh my gosh, you just saved me thousands of dollars. And I didn't know. There are certain legislators like in Arizona that have put the kibosh on the solar industry and the misleading and fraudulent tactics that they've used to sell people things. And they've passed the strongest laws in the nation. So it can happen, but this was because people complained to their legislators that they were just getting ripped off. So if you believe you're getting ripped off, please complain and make your voice heard. And by all means, educate yourself as to your candidate with the global warming and environmental types of issues, because that's where your tax dollars will be going.
Absolutely. Tori, you got to promise to come back in the future. I got a feeling that you and I agree on a lot of these subjects. Watchdog.org. Tori Richards, thank you for being on the program, and I'll call you in the near future. How's that?
Sure, anytime.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day. A very nice and knowledgeable lady right there, Tori Richards, and kind of laying it out on the table as to what is fraudulent about the green movement in this country. What a bunch of hypocrites. What a bunch of control freaks they are. We've just got to. And I know you tire of me saying this, but it is the truth. We are in the majority numbers. We, the conservatives, the ones that really, we've got our heads on straight. The rest of them, I don't know, man, they're spinning in circles. But anyway, the green energy, ridiculous. Solar, wind power, absolutely waste of money. And we've got to take back control as to where we're headed and what we're going to do for the future for our kids and our grandkids. the way Obama's talking about this, the power grids all being taken care of by solar and wind power, that is pie in the sky with melted ice cream. Ain't gonna happen. It is not gonna happen. And the absolute insanity of all the money wasted on solar and wind power and the electric cars. Okay, where's the power going to come from to plug in the doggone cars if the energy grid doesn't have enough power? Oh, I don't know. This is ludicrous. We have no leadership. We have nobody with common sense that wants to stand up, take the heat, and lead this nation back to where it should be. I say for every day on this program, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And somebody called me one day and said, well, you want to be regressive and go back into the past. No! I want to be progressive and utilize the great things this country has done and help leapfrog to the future. Calm down, Zeb. Time for the weather. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarro's Meats. They sell taste one bite at a time. Located at 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number 324-7657. Scarro's Meats. Oh, listen to this. They've got that delicious tax return meat package. Oh, my goodness sakes. $300, and it gets you beef with the rump roasts and the New York steaks and the ground beef and the pork chops and the bacon and the brats and the chicken and the cheese. Oh, it's delicious. The $300 tax return meat package at Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. And now here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. The rain continues and will continue until Thursday night. I could really get into the intricacies of what's causing it. Is it normal? Is it not normal? All that stuff. But you're in the situation now where as you get close to summer, you've had about enough of it. And even though I did tell you exactly what's causing it, it's not going to stop. So the bottom line is you get weather in plain English. You got rain for today, tonight. You got rain that's going to continue all the way to Thursday night. You'll have a nice weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then you're going to pick right back up where you left off on Sunday. Daytime highs for today, upper 60s, low 70s, overnight low to mid, make that mid to upper 40s. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. You sure need the water, the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael, and brought to everybody by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, where they sell taste one bite at a time. 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. I would love to have a soothing, calming, refreshing, take all the comfort and put it right here on my chair call right now. Somebody give me a call, and we'll end the program just kind of talking about the clouds and the sun. Man, I've been worked up all morning about changing the names of mascots and not being able to wear certain clothing, and then the absolutely brain-dead greenies that want to change the world. Oh, please. Give me a call and soothe the savage beast. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, it might not be a soothing call, but I'll take it. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And they have the free pre-trip safety check. I love saying that. Anyway, you stop in, and before you go someplace on a road trip, be sure and ask about the free pre-trip safety check twice in a row. And also check out all the tires. They've got a lot of their top tires on sale right now, like the Ultra Z900, their best passenger car tire, long tread life, smooth, quiet ride, on sale, the Ultra Z900. And don't forget, too, the best in brake service. Oh, my goodness sakes, absolutely the best at the brakes and the front ends and the shocks and the struts and the batteries and service. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I'm waiting for your call that I just know you're racing to the phone to call. A couple of things, kind of sad, really sad, what's happening down in Oklahoma and Texas. And my heart goes out to the families of the people that were just absolutely swept away in the flooding that's going on in Oklahoma and Texas. Terrible, terrible floods. City of Houston basically was underwater as of yesterday, and it's starting to recede now, of course. But again, our prayers and thoughts go to the family members of those that were lost in the flooding. And also, I noticed that on the news again this morning, Al Sharpton, yes, good old Al, troublemaker Al, worthless Al. He was in Ferguson, caused problems. He was in Baltimore, caused problems. Going now to Cleveland, causing more problems. Do you realize that everywhere that man goes, everywhere he goes, to give his speeches and to promote racism and to promote divisiveness, the homicide rate in those cities jumps dramatically? He is nothing more than a troublemaker. He is nothing more than just a person that absolutely makes millions off of dividing this country and being a racist. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
You know, one of the things I think that gets forgotten, unless you brought it up, you know, today or recently, but is the fact that the property values of these business owners and homeowners drops so dramatically after they have been through this stuff. Whether not Ferguson, Baltimore, wherever they have been, and they perpetuate this insanity, this irresponsible behavior. They literally cut the throat of their own brothers and sisters. And good old Al, he cares about his black brothers and sisters, except for when he leaves and their property values drop to nothing. That's sorry. I'm telling you, Zeb, these people suffer that have to stay there and deal with what is left.
Well, let me ask you a question, Randy. Let's assume that you own a pharmacy. Let's assume that you own a little drugstore and maybe a little grocery store. And you were one of the businesses that was burned out, you were looted, etc., and you want to rebuild your business. Who in their right mind as a financing agent is going to loan you the money to rebuild in that neighborhood? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What's going to be your life for the rest of your life?
Well, this is the sorry state of affairs of the situation. Mr. Obama, Valerie Jarrett, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, these sorry, fraudulent, you know what, they couldn't care less about the people that stay there and have to maintain what's left. Nobody would loan them any money, and they know it.
Well, the whole thing boils down to Al Sharpton and all of his ilk are worthless vermin in our society that absolutely make the dollars to stuff into their very tight pockets because of the fact that they're racist, they're bigots, they're hate mongers, they're causing trouble to make money. They're looking for situations like this to go in and just absolutely be disruptive. I have no respect, nada, for Al Sharpton and what he has done in all the instances that he's caused more turmoil.
Well, this is the reason why the good people of the good African American people of these communities, you know, you say, well, you two white, you know, crackers live in Idaho, you wouldn't know nothing. Well, I tell you what, if I was there, I would help them. I would do everything I could to help them. And you see, they don't help anybody. They just use the situation to promote their own greed.
I agree. Randy, I got to run, but I do appreciate your call, and don't hit your thumb with a hammer, buddy. Have a good day. See you later. Thank you. Yeah, we got to get out of here, and we're going to make room for other programming coming up on K-Bar for the rest of the day. Steve Mitten and his show a little bit later on. And don't forget, too, that we'll be back here tomorrow morning, and we'll start at 8:06. Thursday is our segment day. We got like 973 segments with different people, all kinds of interesting folks. Going to be great. So tune in 8:06 tomorrow morning right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. Until then, here, remember this: the way things were are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good day.